Hi, this is Curtis Turner, and today I'm going to show you how I sharpen my turning tools using a dry grinder and my Wolverine grinding jig. So let's get started. The first thing I want to point out is I don't normally keep my grinder here at the bench. Typically it sits in another spot in my shop right next to my lathe. I moved it over here so we'd have a little more room for the camera and a little bit better lighting. So let's talk about the components that are included in the Wolverine grinding system. You'll receive an adjustable tool rest, an adjustable sliding V-arm, two base plates, one for the left and one for the right side. The instructions included in the package will direct you how to set up the base plates relative to your specific grinder. The first component we're going to talk about today is the adjustable tool rest. This platform can be adjusted to achieve really any angle that we want by loosening the lever and setting the platform. Tightening the lever will lock it in place. This arm can be released to allow the tool rest to slide in and out, and then push it forward to lock it down. The first tool we're going to sharpen today is a scraper. I'm going to put the scraper down flat on the platform, loosen the lever, and line up the tool bevel to match the wheel. Then I'll turn on the grinder, place the tool down on the tool rest, and I've got my hands underneath the platform, and I'm just going to rotate the tool around. I'm going to stop and check the progress. Actually looks quite good. Now if you're new to turning, or you're just thinking about getting into it and you're researching sharpening systems, there's a couple things I'd like you to think about. Going with a simple setup like the Wolverine grinding system is a good place to start. One of the first tools I would recommend you try your hand at sharpening would be a scraper. Like you just saw me do, it was actually quite simple, and it's something that you can practice with and build up your confidence, particularly if you're new to dry grinders. I found that the Wolverine sharpening system over the years has been very reliable for me, and I know there are lots of turners that use this setup every day. The next component we should talk about is the sliding V-arm. This particular component slides in or out and makes an adjustment to the tool and allows me to achieve any angle I want on the bevel. What I'll do is put the tool handle in the pocket and then slide the jig out until I can match up the existing bevel to the wheel. That looks pretty good. Go ahead and lock that down. Turn on the grinder. And then with a gentle touch, just go about grinding that edge. That ought to do it, a nice clean bevel. I can use the same technique for different types of spindle gouges. I simply put the end of the tool into the pocket and then slide the V-arm up and then match up the tool bevel angle to the wheel, and I go about the process of grinding it just like I did with the spindle roughing gouge. One of the more challenging tools to sharpen is the bowl gouge. And for that reason, I added the Vari-Grind jig to my setup. It's a device that will hold the tool in the fixture and allow you to consistently sharpen that tool. I have a block of wood with a hole drilled 2 inches deep, and I use it as a spacer to set the distance of protrusion from the tip of the tool to the front of the jig. Then you place this in the V-arm, and then you loosen the V-arm and make an adjustment until the tool bevel matches the wheel. Then you turn on the grinder and go about sharpening. That looks good. One of the benefits of a jig-based sharpening system is it allows me to quickly refine the edge of the tool and not spend a lot of time trying to overcome the various facets that are introduced by freehand sharpening. So in the end, it really saves me time and it minimizes the amount of tool I'm just grinding away. I want to point out a few things about the Vari-Grind, and we're talking about the original Vari-Grind right now. It has an adjusting arm right here that is loosened or operated by loosening this wing nut here. Changing this arm will alter the angle that's ground on the end of the tool in conjunction with the distance the arm is protruding from the stone. I have found that this particular setting of arm works well for my particular gouges, and I find that I tend not to change the setup. I had to go through a little bit of process or learning curve to decide what angle or setup I preferred on the Vari-Grind, but once I've done that, I rarely alter that setting. In fact, I've scribed a line right here, which you probably can't see, that marks where I prefer to have the arm positioned. And in my case, it is on the second notch down, set in the middle of that notch. So I would encourage you to, once you find a setting that you like, go ahead and mark it in some way. That way you can come back to it. Now, if I want to grind away part of the heel back here, I can do that by altering the V-arm. And I can slide the jig up maybe 3/4 of an inch or so and lock it back down, and then go through the process of grinding to remove part of that heel, which I've done right here. Maybe you can see that. I would like to give you an exact recommendation on how to set up the Vari-Grind for your particular grinder, but the reality is that's rather difficult to do. Your grinder setup may be different. The distance of the base to your wheel would probably be different than mine. You might be using a different type gouge or trying to achieve a different type grind. So it's just a process that you'll have to go through on your own and determine what setup works well for you. But once you've done that, you'll be very happy with the speed in which you can resharpen a gouge, particularly with the bowl gouge, the swept back wings that most of us like. That's kind of hard to do freehand in a very consistent manner. But again, that's one of the big advantages of using a jig-based system. I think you'll be happy once you go through the process of setting it up. In the next video, we'll cover using the Vari-Grind 2, the skew attachment, and the dressing attachment. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.